Hey folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, the tornado Tony Pennycow.
And Psychic Tom Paget. I've been staring at the stars. So we'll use astrology to make some red hot predictions.
All right.
Yes, and just tonight we got an offer to interview a fighter from UFC 253. Going up against Claudia Gadelha. She's going to need a translator, though. I don't think anybody of us speak Chinese. Unless there's something you guys haven't told me. It's number 10 strawweight, Yan Zhaonan. People from Paradigm Sports.
I haven't used it in almost 6 years, but we used to have an interpreter line for my office. Especially because I worked on our team with a lot of international clients, and somebody would call in, somebody speaks Spanish? Hold on, and we'd call the line in, and what language do you need? Spanish, okay. Mandarin Chinese was another popular one. Arabic was a popular one. Again, that's pretty much...
I speak very limited Chinese. Very limited. I can say like 6 phrases, that's about it. And thank you. I can thank her at the end. Genuinely, I know that. Right. But anyway, yeah. So that's possible for next week. She's got the fight coming up late September, so hopefully she's available next week for that. Let's see what else we got to cover. We got some news items here, and then we got lots of ground to cover on the recaps and the previews. I'm gonna try to do like the top 3 fights of the past events. And then go right to the upcoming stuff. But we had a lot of stuff going on in boxing. Our boy, the tree guy, Joe Smith Jr., with his own tree company, he put his opponent right through the ropes.
Again?
Yeah, it's becoming a theme for him.
I just kept thinking he's going to run out of gas. He can't keep that parade up, but he did. He did.
It's a shame because there were so many fights on Saturday, and unfortunately, those in the ESPN Plus card. You know, I caught some of the stuff on DAZN late afternoon, but then I missed that really great knockout.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing: is first of all, when you have heavyweights, that's one. First and second.
I mean, you miss it. That's what I meant.
Oh, you know what? That was my stupidity. Saturday I was trying to do a lot of things in the afternoon, and sometimes think, okay, you're doing something, you get caught up doing something, you get a message like, oh shit, you missed that. I'm like, oh, balls.
Hey, well, where are your priorities at? Come on.
I know.
I mean, you talk about a classic. I mean, I would, if you guys see you missed it, Rich, were you able to see it?
No, I was only able to read about it. I didn't see it. I was pissed.
They had it. The first 3 rounds were, nothing super outstanding, but White was the boss, and he was controlling the action. And in the 4th round, Perokin going down twice, so this looked like, my God. And then he comes out and a left uppercut. It didn't even seem that hard. But that kind of a punch, it's all about accuracy.
Or you're talking about the Dylan White fight. The Dylan White fight? Is that versus Povetkin?
Right.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the Joe Smith fight. Yeah, Povetkin. I did see the knockout punch, and it reminded me of the last punch, the George punch. After fucking 10 rounds of getting wailed on, he snuck that uppercut in. Snuck the uppercut in under the elbow, and then boom, done. And it's it just doesn't even look like a strong punch, but it just knocks you out. It's a theme now.
Well, let's say, I mean, I've seen a little bit of Dillian White, and you're never going to confuse George Chuvalo. Let's get that straight. Talented fighter. I don't think he's, got cast iron chin. You got to think, looking past this fight, because he wanted Tyson Fury. He didn't care that Tyson Fury was going to fight, Wilder and then Joshua. He didn't care about that. He wanted that. He wanted. So this was just basically a keep busy fight in his mind. A guy like Povetkin, this is like, his last shot, so he was going to crawl off that canvas if he had to, 100 times. Now, I always got one local writer that I read, and I know personally, who's never wrong, never, ever, 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 ever wrong in his life. And no matter what, it's like...
Even if he's wrong, he's not wrong?
What?
Even if he's not wrong, he's not wrong? Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. Yeah, and so if he writes a prediction, even if he takes a fight where he's picking an underdog. Now, everybody in this fight likely would have picked Dillian White to win. He was the favorite. He was the fresher guy. He wasn't the old war horse. And Povetkin's dangerous, but this should be the Dillian White show. So 9 out of 10 people would pick Dillian White in this fight. Okay, upsets happen, but this other guy's he'd watch a fight if there was a fighter that he really loved, and he for a long time he hated Manny Pacquiao, So every Pacquiao fight he predicted the other guy, whether it was Cotto, whether it was the big boy from Nigeria, or Ghana, whose name I'm forgetting right now. But he's picking it, and then every time that Pacquiao won, especially when he fought the guy from Ghana, the guy was, shell-shocked. He couldn't get his hands off him. Pacquiao just beat him. He called it a fix. Well, wrong. It's a fix. So this one, Dillian White, gets knocked out, and,
lucky punch.
Saying we're saying that, and then someone's like, "Well, I see you picked that one wrong. A wrong clock is right twice a day." Well, every time you're wrong, you can't use the same line.
Yeah.
Because if you keep using that line, you know what it means? It means you're wrong a lot.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, yeah, that was a big upset.
If I know your excuse line,
I've also read that Povetkin has said he'd rather do the rematch than wait for a fight with Fury. So that's interesting.
Well, you know what? You look at it Povetkin guys right now. Okay. Will this be a fight that he likely may not win? Yeah, possible. Could Dillian White get the revenge in the rematch? Possible. Could set up a trilogy. Povetkin's being smart, because right now, to get a fight with Tyson Fury, you got to get in line. And Povetkin's not young enough to get in line. He's got to make money now. So if there's a mark for a rematch with Dillian White, you take it.
Yeah. You
lose, you call for a trilogy. And you lose again, you ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
You try to wait for Tyson Fury, Tyson Fury might say, I might only take 2 more fights. I might take Wilder, I might take Joshua, and I might say I'm done. And you're like, shit, I waited for that? I'm still in it. And then it's like, okay, you know what? We'll match you with another contender. We'll match you with Dillian White.
There you go.
So, make the money now, man. Make the money now. Sunset's coming. Make it.
Right. So anyway, we briefly mentioned it, but we didn't get into it. Joe Smith Jr. got the win over Elider Alvarez in the 9th round with a knockout through the ropes.
Yeah.
He had landed.
I was talking, and like I said, I didn't realize there was a card on ESPN Plus because, what I do now, because I have the apps, but I don't get notifications. I got to figure out how to do that, where I get notifications that fights are on. Because you look like you look in the paper, because my local newspaper say what sports are on TV tonight. For 4 months, it just said nothing. And then at least we were getting something. So now they say what sports are on tonight, what things are on tonight, what's on tonight, and they'll say boxing, but it only channels. It only covers regular ESPN, Showtime, the Fox, stuff like that. So I knew about the Sean Porter fight. I didn't realize Joe Smith had fought until it was over. I was like, that's tonight? Shit, I wanted to see that fight.
Yeah. Also,
I had a bad weekend. my mind was not clear this weekend, so...
Also, Clay Collard was on the same card. The guy that...
Cassius Clay Collard fought again?
Yeah. He basically, as they say here, he crammed years' worth of activity into a few months.
Yeah, really?
It's the prospect
you know
of the
what?
year.
He's the guy that he took advantage of the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, he's a guy that when there were no sports on and boxing was one of the few, avenues you could see back in, June and July, he was the guy saying, hey, I'll fight. I'll defeat a guy, I'll fight him. And come to see, hey, this guy's kind of skilled. Great personality,
Very
fun to watch. Well, and I joked in the air a couple times, Cassius Clay has no resemblance at all style-wise to the original Cassius Clay.
I did watch some boxing. I think it was on Fox. I'm not sure.
Sean Porter?
Names. Yes, the Sean Porter fight. And there was a guy on the undercard.
That's what I watched.
That reminded me a lot of Gotti. Thomas.
Oh, Joey Spencer.
Yes. Just reminded me a lot
Young
of
kid, 20 years old. He looks a lot like Gotti, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
And the things he has the facial resemblance to Gotti. He's got a good punching power, and you can see he is easy to hit with counters. So it's a guy that you don't know how he's going to be when
he's good at moving around the ring, to make up for his poor defense. But yeah, when he hits you, he's pretty sharp. Anyway, before we get off of Clay Collard, he has fought for the 5th time this year on that undercard at ESPN for top rank, and he beat Maurice Williams, forced a second-round stoppage. So he's 5-0 on the year with 3 knockouts and 4 months left. So God love him. Yeah, good dude. Yeah, crazy stuff. Great boxing action. We'll get to the full schedule in a few minutes. Sergio Martinez got a knockout as well on his return to the ring. 45-year-old former title holder hadn't fought in 6 years and stopped Jose Miguel Fandino in 7 rounds last Friday in Torrelavega, Spain. Martinez moves to 53-3-2 with 29 knockouts. Put the 36-year-old opponent down twice with body shots, once in the 6th and again in the final round. And then the Fandino cornerman threw in the towel. Fans were limited to 1,000 because of the coronavirus. I don't know what the fight was, but probably Mexico. All right. And let's see. Wrestling. Back in the news. Somebody in Omaha died from a wrestling move. I don't know if you heard about this one, Tony. I haven't even read it yet.
I didn't hear about the guy dying. What happened?
Omaha man. I don't know. I'm trying to load the story up. My computer's being wicked slow. Come on. Probably should have read it beforehand so I could bullshit for a while. But yeah, wrestling move. Usually it's an older person and a younger person. But here we have prosecutors ruling the May death of a man at the hands of his roommate who used a wrestling move to subdue him was a justified homicide.
I'm looking at it now, yeah.
42-year-old Calvin Strong. That's the guy's name who got killed. Calvin Strong. Sounds like a wrestling match, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Police were called to a home on May 29th and found Strong's 39-year-old roommate holding him down with a wrestling move called a half Nelson. Strong was unresponsive when police arrived and later died at a hospital. prosecutors said an investigation determined that Strong had kicked in his roommate's bedroom door and assaulted him, and then that the roommate acted in defense of his own life. Multiple witnesses gave accounts of the incident that were consistent with the roommates. Whoa, geez, he was on PCP. Strong also tested positive for multiple drugs, including PCP. So yeah, he deserved it. Just like our former guest, right? No, Rodney King. He was on PCP too. That's what it was. The cops' justification. They said he was unstoppable. He was on PCP. Anyway, yeah, this sounds like justifiable homicide. That's what they call it. So yeah, you get a little too rowdy, you're gonna get the smack brought down on you. The half Nelson. That's like one of the basic regular wrestling moves. Never mind WWE or any of those league sports ones. Alright. So there's an interesting article. I won't get into the whole thing. In the New York Times this week, or last week, 26th, on UFC fighter pay. So the issue is now threatened retirements. That's the way to get leverage, according to this article. It's an interesting argument. And the big boxing story seems to be Oscar De La Hoya coming back at the age of 47 years old and wanting to fight a top contender on top of it.
That might be a good fight.
No
They
exhibition.
got Sergio Martin back too.
Yeah. Not going to be an
He just
exhibition.
fought.
And he's talking smack already. All these fighters are not of the level that was 15 years ago. 15 or 20 years ago, he said. All these fighters are demanding so much money. All these fighters are demanding the moon. And they're forgetting that you must train hard, you must work hard. So that's a huge advantage for me because I know what it takes to train hard. I know how to train smart. I know how to fight smart in the ring. And what do you think Dana White had to say about that? Leave the bald father to launch the first low blow in their ongoing feud. But yeah, cocaine isn't cheap, he says. That's why he has to get back into boxing. But yeah, I have not heard the audio itself of this interview where he said it, but that's exactly what he said, something to that effect. Cocaine is expensive. Oh, poor Oscar. Anyway. Well, now Oscar knows the loophole now from the John Jones situation. As long as he's not a day of competition, he can do all the cocaine he wants. Anyway, we'll see if he's really in it for the money too, and puts the work in. But his plan is to compete between 154 and 160 pounds. Any top guy out there is who he wants. Any top guy. And then, here's a transition. The top girl in boxing suffered her first pro loss to a journeywoman, Jessica McCaskill. Took her welterweight titles.
Yeah.
WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO, all of them.
I'll tell you, you know who was straight up? This is you're gonna laugh because it's gonna bring you right back to the interview. Your boy had a post on Saturday going into that fight because I guess they were saying this was gonna be her 25th title defense, and does that make her equal to Joe Louis? And your boy, the Iceman, went off.
Yeah.
He was like, absolutely not. You know, he just, like, he had one of his Facebook rants going, and I'm reading it, and I'm thinking, I remember, because I wasn't on the air with the original Iceman Shamrock debate. That was before I started. But I remember you always telling me about it.
Break it up, yeah, they're at each other's throats there for a minute on the women's fighting. And then I tried to get them to do it the second one, and they wouldn't take the bait. They had changed. John had changed his opinion on women fighters, I think, by that point. Because he kind of had to. I think he had too many Facebook friends who were female fighters. You're going to be listening. Back when we did it the first time, you didn't have to worry about that social media backlash.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
And not only do you not have to worry about social media backlash back then, I mean, yeah, there was still social media, but it was if everybody wasn't so overly sensitive.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we got another strange wrestling story. I'm sorry we don't cover wrestling enough to do real wrestling stories. We just have weird ones. Here's one from Florida. Florida man story.
I love them.
Guy's in custody after attempting to kidnap a professional wrestler. Okay, Philip Thomas of Cordsville was arrested in Tampa and charged with aggravated stalking, armed burglary, and armed kidnapping and criminal mischief. Deputies say Thomas was obsessed with 26-year-old wrestling star Sonia Deville. According to investigators, Thomas broke into the home and watched Deville for hours before she saw him and called 911. Deputies say when they found him, he had zip ties, duct tape, and mace. Yeah. And she had a phone. Got you. So, yeah. Not too smucking fart. And that guy is a South Carolina guy, too, so I guess you have to forgive him for that. What's this one? This is a bad one. I don't know what neighborhood this was. Champion boxer shot dead. Waiting for it to load here. Alright, I guess we'll get to that in a minute. UFC 252. Miocic versus Cormier. Tom and I predicted the winner correctly, but not quite the result. Oh well. You win some, you lose some. Sometimes the crystal ball is cloudy, right, Tom?
Well, I don't know if you've seen the fight.
Yeah,
but
I
the
didn't.
end of the second round,
Eye pokes,
just...
I love it. Eye pokes became the focus on the other side now.
Well, yeah, talk about karma. But when it happened in the first round, I had a few guys over watching, it's like, damn, not again. And you could look at Cormier, and, you can't think Cormier is doing that on purpose. I mean, it was such a big issue, and Cormier just had that look, oh, man, I can't get disqualified. And then the end of the second round, Cormier, if you noticed, he went back to his corner drunk. I mean, Stipe just about had it, and so we felt pretty good going on. Stipe had really made a smart adjustment, the way he would clinch and just control Cormier against the cage. I started training with Marcus. Denny Daniels, Jeff's brother, former guest. But Denny had told me Marcus has a gift. Like many trainers, they can see things at a different level. And the game plan was just perfect, and Stipe went out and executed it. So, good for him.
Yeah, great job on his part. Daniel officially retires. Kind of a bit biting off more than you can chew. Should have stayed retired deal for him. But yeah, it's very interesting that it's corner got turned for Stipe really with his eye poke. And took out his left or right eye. I don't know which one, but yeah, you could tell it even at the end of the fight. His eye was
and in the first round, Cormier got that takedown, but he couldn't do anything with it, so they got right back up. And I think that meant a lot, too. I mean, I gave Cormier the first round, but I think it was like win the battle, lose the war.
Yeah.
So,
and then we had the mean bad man, Sean O'Malley, flopped down with the friggin' ankle injury or something. I don't know. Hurt his foot somehow.
Well, what did we say? Do not sleep on Marlon Vera.
Yeah. And
he handled that just like a professional. He didn't get rattled by all that trash talk. And, wow, what can you say? And this is 2 times around now with O'Malley and this foot problem.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know what's going on there.
Starting to wonder. Built like a praying mantis.
The doctor didn't set the pin correctly there. So. Vera knocked it off somehow. Anyway, also we had Jairzinho Rosenstruik TKOing Mr. Junior Dos Santos 3 minutes and 47 seconds into the second round. We had Daniel Pineda over Herbert Burns, also by TKO from elbows, 4 minutes and 37 seconds into the second round. That's pretty wild. The fight before was 3 minutes and 47 seconds into the round, and then the fight after is 4 minutes and 37 seconds. All the same numbers, just different ranges. That's kind of crazy. I've never seen that before. All right, 7th fight of the night, Merab Dvalishvili beating John Dodson, and the journeyman fight there, the old warhorse Jim Miller going down by unanimous decision to Vince Pichel. A rough one there. I won't go through the rest of them. And we also had Ryan Bader was upset. It was the week of the Russians, It was the month of the Russians, really, so far. Ryan Bader got taken out by another one, Nemkov, at Bellator 244, and this is the one I literally slept on, because I watched half the card, and then I fell asleep before the main event. And
so did I. Yeah.
Ryan Bader got slept in the main event, so yeah, it's a tough one to watch for Ryan Bader fans, anyway. But it was TKO, head kick and punches. Second round, 3 minutes and 2 seconds in. Vadim Nemkov improves to 13-2. Bader 27-7 is his record now, and loses the belt. He had the belt, I believe, right? Bellator belt. So.
Well, he had the light heavyweight belt and the heavyweight belt, right. And I wonder about the cut. Look at Roy Jones Jr. Look at what happened to him.
Yeah.
After he leaped over cruiserweight, went right to heavyweight, and that was all downhill after that.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You know what? And it's funny, with certain guys, like certain guys have been able to go between weight classes and not have much of them, obviously not a 25-pound or an 18, 19-pound leap, but you'll see guys that sometimes about taking a fight at almost like middleweight, and they go up to super middleweight like Canelo does it. But when you get guys that put on a muscle regimen to make that weight, to bulk up, that's hard to come back from because you've increased your mass. So what Roy did was Roy went to, I believe it was Mackie Shilstone, who was in charge of doing Evander Holyfield back in the late 80s, early 90s, getting him up to cruiserweight to heavyweight. You get somebody that puts on, you're at 175, and they get you up to, say, 193, 194. That's almost 20 pounds of muscle. So now, you can lose fat easy. I see guys that were, heavier set guys, myself included, that cut weight fast because they had that disposable thing to do. There was that extra few pounds in there, and especially there was that extra hydration in them. When you're, low percent body fat, that's hard to do.
Right. Us fat people refer to that as blubber, Tony? No.
It was a thickness. That's what it was. A thickness. Shut up, Rich.
That's good. I got some. I gotta get rid of. But hey, season's hardwood season will do that to me. It's getting the schools, kids going back to school. I'm getting worked like a mule. Anyway, a rented mule.
You know, I looked on you saw Facebook today that you almost lost your house.
Oh yeah, what happened? What'd you do?
Well, you guys gonna laugh at me?
I promise.
I mean, if you say yes, I mean that's an appropriate answer because it was the most insanely idiotic way a human being could die, which would be the perfect way for me to go. They booked me for a conference call in the afternoon at work, so I was like, shit. Wait, well, normally my normal lunchtime. So I'm okay. Go to lunch early, that messed up my normal bathroom time. So I'm like, shit. I'm like, all right, I got about 50 minutes before this call, I got about an hour, which my walk is usually 45 minutes of that. But I started my walk late, so I'm walking, and my 3-mile walk takes 45 minutes. I'm about a mile to go, and I'm like, I gotta go to the bath. Well, I'm about a mile from home, so I start walking fast. In the middle of my walking fast, it's warm out. I'm sweating. Sweat runs into my eye. Now I'm blind. And I'm trying to walk fast because I got to get home and I got to go to the bathroom before this conference call, which is going to be in 20 minutes. Can't see. I'm walking blind and I got to go to the bathroom. So I'm like, I almost walked into a pole and I almost walked into traffic. I jumped on into the house. I can imagine the police report. Like, he was walking very awkwardly with a pained expression on his face. He was rubbing his eyes and blinking a lot. I think he was on a controlled substance.
We're watching too many Three Stooges episodes, yeah.
Oh, there was some guy, a couple months ago, I think, less than that, I saw clips of. He had jumped onto the cab of a truck, a tractor trailer, and he was trying to break through the glass to get to the guy. The guy stopped to help him out because he had crashed.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I seen that.
Oh my God! And he stripped down naked or something. And he's hanging onto the fucking window. Oh yeah, yeah, but he lived, so he's still out there. I don't know. Anyway, getting back to the fighting sports here. We had another big UFC event. Munoz versus Edgar, and I did watch this one. Frankie Edgar got the edge, and Munoz just looked very frustrated. The only thing that was really working for him were the leg kicks, but unfortunately he didn't start them until midway into round 2. And then, by the time they really started to affect Edgar, he was already ahead on points, so all he had to do was kind of use the whole ring and land his shots. And he fought a very smart, intelligent fight, and looked very good, and really just had that one weakness of catching leg kicks all night. But Munoz had his moments too. He just couldn't have any consistency, and he kind of let Edgar back into the fight every time. But he had his strong rounds. It was close. It was a split decision. And a good fight. It was definitely a good main event fight. If you're going to watch a fight for 5 rounds, that's the fight you want to watch. You don't want to watch a lay and pray and wrestle fuck, as Trump says. So, yeah, I like that one. Not bad. And then we had some quicker finishes in the lead-up fights. We had Mike Rodriguez beating Marcin Prachnio. Elbow and punches, 2 minutes and 17 seconds into the fight. Joe Salecki over Austin Hubbard with a rear naked choke, 3 minutes and 51 seconds into that fight. And the hero of the night, girl came in looking like she was unbeatable, unstoppable, gonna walk right over you, Maria Agapova. Very tall, lanky fighter, foreign obviously. Shannon Dobson came in and had a pretty rough first round, but second round, tune was changed, and Dobson walked right over Agapova. And she became the story of the week there. With that TKO, 1 minute and 38 seconds into it, and I believe it seemed to me like the Maria Agapova actually must have said something out loud to stop the fight, because it didn't look like the ref stopped it because she was out cold or anything. I think she just said, "I'm done," or something, to the ref. It's just my speculation, but it just seemed that it was weird the way it was stopped. But yeah, Shanna was going to definitely knock her out if it kept going. No shame in her game. Anyway, Daniel Rodriguez also winning over Dwight Grant. Knockout, 2 minutes and 24 seconds into that one. There was another unanimous decision. Amanda Lemos over Mizuki Inoue. And we'll do all the rest of them there. UFC Fight Night 175 is the one coming up this weekend. And it's Smith versus Rakic. Anthony Smith and Alexander Rakic. Alexander is 12-2. Anthony is 33-15. And then we got the return of Robbie Lawler. It's been out for a while since that controversial fight, I believe, that was stopped too early. Where he thought he was choked out, but he really wasn't. Herb Dean had to apologize. Robbie is 28-14, fighting Neil Magny, who is, as Tom would say, no cheap date. 23-7.
Yeah.
That's going to be
this may be fun.
I'm really thinking that's going to be a barn burner. Different clashing styles, but Magny is a little bit taller. He's got more reach. So if he decides to strike with him, it's all going to be about how Lawler gets on the inside. If he's going to win, and Magny's going to just get to keep his distance. If it goes on the ground, who knows what Lawler's been working on all this time. We'll find out. And we got Alexa Grasso, 11-3 against Ji Yeon Kim, who's 9-2-2. Ricardo Lamas back in action, 19-8 versus Bill Algio, who is 13-4. Magomed Ankalaev, 13-1 versus Ion Cutelaba, 15-5. Maki Patolo, 13-6 versus Impa Kasangani, who is 7-0. And we got Zach Cummings, 23-7 against Alessio Di Chirico, who is 12-4. And Bruce Leroy keeps getting new opponents. I don't know if this one's been updated or not, but 16-12 is Alex Caceres. He's fighting Austin Springer, who is 12-2, according to Sherdog. But I believe they had a story that had changed just recently, so I don't know. And then we got no relation to Christina, I believe, Christian Aguilera. He is 14-6, fighting Sean Brady, who's 12-0, undefeated. The third fight of the night. And then we got a female fight, Pollyanna. Sounds like a great name for a fighter. Pollyanna Viana, 10-4, fighting Emily Whitmire, 4-3. And then female fight leads off the action, Mallory Martin, 6-3 against Anna Cyphers, 10-6. Now it's all boxing all the time, Tony. That's all we got left here. Okay, we got a lot to cover, though. I still haven't found out if Tim Tszyu is related to Jeff Tszyu, but he beat Jeff.
Yes, it's his son.
It's his son. Okay, so he beat Jeff Horn.
Right, and there's a very big estrangement. It's a whole long story.
Oh, really? Tom found out.
The dad went back to Russia, and I guess got another life and another life. So it's kind of a sad story.
Wow. Well, the son is in Australia now. And he beat Jeff Horn, 20-2. It was a TKO, too. So Tim Tszyu improves to 16-0 with 12 knockouts. And he's from Rockdale, New South Wales, Australia. Born in Sydney, Australia. Costa Tszyu, right? That was his father?
Right.
Okay. So I'll make sure I got that. All right. We also had the Breakhouse upset. Dylan White losing to Alexander Povetkin. Elider Alvarez to Joe Smith Jr. And as we mentioned, we talked a little bit about the card. The Spencer guy there. But we also had Sean Porter pretty much owning the action, coasting to a decision against Sebastian Formella. Formella was kind of a sharp guy, very tough, good chin, but just not enough power to do anything. Nothing.
Very light. Yeah. So,
nothing that made Porter take a step back.
Went into the fight. For him to win this fight, he would have had to have been almost perfect because he didn't have a great jab. That's a downfall right there. Where he couldn't control the action. Not a power puncher. Not exactly fast, It's like he had. If you would when you watch a football game and they match both sides up and say, okay, who has the better quarterback? Who has the better running back? Who has the better receivers? Who has the better offensive line? Porter would have gotten a check mark in every. Power, speed, strength, experience, jab. The boy had heart. He had heart. But he just didn't have the tools.
Right.
Yeah, and to me, it made it a very ugly fight. Just a ugly, very ugly fight. Because you just kind of knew the guy's too tough to want to quit. But that's the game. There are levels.
Well,
and that's a good example right there.
It's also expert matchmaking, I think, because you've got a guy who's usually the announcer on these shows, fighting in the main events. So you kind of want him to look good in that he's obviously not, going for a title here. A new one anyway. So just go out there and make him look good, and it promotes the brand. Unfortunately, I think that happens a lot, but I'd rather see him in a fight where he actually has some competition, because he came out of there looking like he just got in a sparring match, a sparring session. And, so he's getting paid the big bucks, you want him to kind of earn it a little bit.
Right now, it's hard because, you think a lot of these fighters, I guess we're going to start seeing things open up in the next month or two. What's the next really big boxing match you heard about? Only one I can think about right now is almost 3 months away, and that's Errol Spence and Danny Garcia in November. Look at September. There's going to be nothing Independence Day weekend, which is usually the Canelo weekend, because right now that weekend was, there was going to be competition between the Canelo fight and the Tyson Jones fight, and now it doesn't look like there's going to be any fight. I can't really say anything huge, any blockbuster fights. There's going to be some decent fights, and there's going to be some title fights. But there's nothing that on the level of the Fury Wilders or anything like that until November.
Right.
Pay-per-view. And I guess a lot of these fighters, you take a guy like Sean Porter. Sean Porter's a good fighter. He's, a world-class fighter. Say, just for argument's sake, a guy like Manny Pacquiao or Keith Thurman, guys like that. And they're trying to make that matchup. And those guys are going like, yeah, but do we want to have this mega fight in an empty arena? And it's I think that takes a lot of the luster away from these big fights. Especially these younger guys, but yeah, we can wait maybe a little bit. And these other guys are yeah, but I want to stay active at least. I want to fight. I want to make some income. But Sean Porter's okay, who are we going to get you? Okay, we'll get to this guy from overseas, And he was yeah, yeah, absolutely. Fight Sean Porter in America, that's a dream of mine. That's great, So, unfortunately, you're not going to get the can't-miss matchups, right? Just because they're hard to negotiate.
Exactly. And speaking of that, guy we had on the show a while back, Anthony Loriano from East Hartford, Connecticut, got his first loss on the 22nd against Julian Rodriguez, and stepped up from his last opponent, Angel Hernandez, being 17-14-2 to get to 13-0, and steps in against Julian Rodriguez, who's 19-0. So obviously trying to take a big step up. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him, but wish him luck getting back into it. He's got TKO'd there. Super lightweight. Hope he bounces back all right there. We had some other ones too worth mentioning between shows. A couple other ones. Then we're going to go to Saturday, is the biggest day this week. Let's see, we had Rolando Romero beating Jackson Martinez. Let's see, we already talked about that. Katie Taylor over Delphine Persoon. Jack Conn.
Yeah, that was a weird time. And I think Taylor won more convincingly this time. It still was a competitive fight.
Right. Let's see, Jack Cullen and Zach Chelly fought to a draw. That was an interesting one. And let's see, I knew there was another one. Yeah, David Benavidez beating Romer Alexis Angulo. Now we go to Saturday, 29th. September is almost here. Winter is coming. Get your foot forward. Yeah, it got a little bit colder. We got double hurricanes going on down south. You know, it's fall is here officially. Anyway.
Double hurricanes down south. We got apparently 4 tornadoes in Connecticut today.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, we had one
Friend
up
of mine
here.
has
We actually had one up here that touched down for like 5 seconds in a little town called Wolfboro on the other side of the lake from me. And they called it a water spout, and then they confirmed it was actually a tornado, but it really didn't do much damage. It's like 4 cottages got some tree damage. But yeah, they had a tornado warning and everything. That was crazy.
Well, it's like every time I get a tornado warning, it's always like every friend of mine will then send me a message. They're like, God damn it, I'm trying to sleep, Tony. When do I get a warning that you're in my town? This is like, okay, it was funny the first 17 times.
Right. Anyway.
Last year, we had a party on a Saturday night. We went till 4 in the morning. Sunday night, the hangover hit at like, I don't know, around 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm laying there hurting. And the tornado warning was going off at like 2 in the morning, and I'm laying there and I can hear it, and I'm like, fuck it, if it comes, I'd rather die right now. I am hurting so bad. I would rather die. It was a great way for me to go.
In a tornado. Unreal. All right, we're going to start off this week's schedule with a mismatch of the week. This is a great one. From Sao Paulo, Brazil, Esquiva Falco, 26-0, fighting Morama Diazo de Arajo Santos, who's 5-4. 5-4 versus 26-0. Yeah, I think money's going to be heavy on Falco on that one. Mismatch City. Okay, then we got a competitive fight at super featherweight. Robson Conceição, who is 13-0, fighting Eduardo Pereira dos Reis, who's 24-7. That's on USA Fox Sports 1 from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Mismatch of the week. Unreal. Unreal. But it is real. Alright, stop going too far down the list. Spacebar. Okay, next fight. We go to Poland. A Polish fight here. Middleweight. Maciej Sulecki, 28-2 at middleweight, fighting Sasha Yangoyan, who's 44-7. And the co-main event there is 9-1 Tommy Silvenuin, fighting Przemysław Zisk, who's 13-0. Silvenuin is 9-1. Alrighty, nothing else too crazy on that card. And we got a little action in the United Kingdom. Daniel Dubois at heavyweight, 14-0, fighting Ricardo Snijders, who is 18-1 for the World Boxing Organization International Heavyweight title. And then we go from heavyweights to super flyweights. Sonny Edwards, 14-0 against Thomas Essamba, who's 10-5 for the International Boxing Federation International Super Flyweight title. And then we got Sam Maxwell at super lightweight. He's 13-0, fighting Joe Hughes, who's 17-5-1 for the WBO European super lightweight title. And then the big one in California. I don't know why this isn't televised on here. Maybe it is. I just don't know. But we got two really good fights, main event and co-main event, and we got a pretty decent third fight too on the list, and a fourth fight. Somebody's always got to go in the fourth fight. This has got to be on TV. I don't know. I just don't know why they're not showing it. Arislandi Lara, 26-3-3, fighting Greg Vendetti in the main event, who's 22-3-1 for the WBA World Super Welterweight title, and the vacant IBO World Super Welterweight title. Arislandi, I've seen fight in person out there in Vegas. I think he was on the bad end of a controversial decision, caused actually by a low blow that was not a low blow. And I specifically remember this fight because the Mexican photographer came up to me between rounds when that happened and showed me the exact punch on his camera that was called a low blow, and the point was taken away for it. And yep, it was not a low blow. I can confirm. But this is a tough fight for Arislandi. It's very comparable experience there. Less draws, but yeah. I also met James Toney that night. He was very, very uninviting towards me, though. When I gave him a business card, I had a feeling that I was never going to hear from him again. And I later found out he was invested in one of the heavyweights that they kept having on the cards at the Cosmopolitan, one of the young heavyweights. That's why he was there. So he was all business. And that was the same fight that I met an even more famous person, Roberto Duran. Spoke no English, he says. Even though I could tell he did. He could understand what I was saying. He kept referring me to his bodyguard. No English. You fucking liar. Anyway. That was a fun night. In Vegas at the Cosmopolitan. I felt like royalty going in, getting the press pass to go into that place for a boxing match. But tough to imagine how that's going to happen again. That atmosphere. Also on this same card in Los Angeles, Alfredo Angulo, 26-7, fighting Caleb Truax, who is 31-4-2. And then the Cornflake, one of the craziest, weirdest names I've ever heard for a boxer. Thomas Cornflake Lamanna, 28-3-1, fighting Brian Mendoza, who's 18-1. And I remember about 2.5 years ago, I got an email, as I used to get Thomas Lamanna's emails all the time, because it was like he had his own promotional company, his wife was the matchmaker. So every fight I would get, the whole card and who he was fighting. And like 2.5 years ago, he retired. Supposedly. So another guy came out of retirement. Can't keep turning him down. Brian Mendoza is the opponent here. He's only got one loss, so tough competition.
Well, I know a lot of guys that know Thomas Lamanna, the Cornflake. And he's been down at my gym in South Philly, so a lot of my friends know him very well. And it's funny if you ever really look at him, he doesn't look like a fighter. I remember one time it was a picture of a group of guys that I all know in the ring, and I'm looking at all of these guys together, and I'm like, who's like the 12-year-old? you know, because he was so fresh-faced.
Yeah.
I swear to God, you know, and he's so fresh-faced and so, you know, definitely doesn't even belong there. But that's one where, like, don't judge a book by its cover. Reminds me a lot of a guy that I was a college teammate with, Dave Fields, was 4-time All-American, 3-time runner-up, and 1-time national champion. And he should have been a 2- or 3-time national champion, at least. But the first time he ever came into the Lock Haven boxing gym, I was a junior. He was 125 pounds. He was about 5'7", so tall, lean kid. His arms were about maybe his biceps about the size of my wrist. You know, I mean, he looked like he was all of 12 years old. And we're looking at him, and Dr. Cox is like, "Look at this kid! Oh my God! You know, Ken, are you even old enough to be in college? You look like you're in junior high." And the kid doesn't say anything. And we're everybody, "Hey, why do you want to join the boxing team? What have you done? Have you ever been in a sport before?" And this kid's like, "Yeah, I play ice hockey." I'm like, 125-pound ice hockey player? Well, it means you got to be tough, you know.
Yeah.
And the first time we ever put him in there, we're like, I mean, he was mowing guys down. I outweighed him by 50 pounds, and when I sparred him, I had to go full tilt. And if I didn't, he'd be pissed.
Yeah.
You know, and he ended up boxing for the Army, the United States Army after he graduated college. But that reminds me of Thomas Lamana, you know, like somebody you look at on the street and be like, "Oh, look at this nerd, right?" He can fight, but his problem in the professional ranks is Thomas is not a big puncher. You know, his last fight back in January, before everything started getting shut down, was at the Temple Leocora Center on the Julian Williams undercard when he lost the title. And Lamana got stopped in that fight. I mean, he was taking a lot of punishment, and they finally stopped it, and he was mad, you know. But at the same time, you know, he was the guy that he was behind on the cards. He was taking punishment, and he didn't have the punch turned around, and the guy was really starting to rake him over the coals. Let's see how he rebounds from it.
Well, I actually got fights in Derry, New Hampshire this week. Horrible card, but I'll get to that in a minute. We got one more fight to mention on that card. Somebody's always got to go fight, believe it or not. Okay, we're back to the Abram, not Abraham, no ham in there. Abram Martinez at super lightweight. He's 8-0 fighting Louis Arkin, who is 10-0 in super lightweight. Main event, not main event. First fight of the night in Los Angeles. We got a bunch of mismatches in Venice, Florida. We'll get into those. Big mismatch on this card. Sort of. Well, Joey Bryant, 16-0, fighting Kenneth Counsell, who's 10-4-1 in Biloxi, Mississippi at middleweight. That was too good on that card. Now, you know a guy's got to get into fighting when his name is Tracy. Tracy Johnson, heavyweight fighter, fighting Justin Rolfe, 3-1-1. Tracy Johnson is 4-7-6. But they're fighting for the USA New England title right here in my home state, in Derry, New Hampshire. I was not aware of this card, but man, I would have tried to get out to this. This is crazy matchups. And we got Larry Smith at middleweight. He hasn't taken the hint yet. He's 10-44-2. Fighting Darryl Bunting, who also happens to have 4 wins, 7 losses, with 2 draws. Wow. You gotta love this guy's name, okay? Alright, Mike Ohan Jr., he's 9-1. He's fighting Dwayne Wisdom. He has all the wisdom of 7 wins, 53 losses, and 2 draws.
So maybe he's lost some of that wisdom.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
right.
Some of those meetings, you know.
He has wisdom in name only. And our boy, Mark DeLuca, is on this card. Keep him busy.
The bazooka?
The Bazooka.
Only
The
Italian?
Bazooka. He is 25-2, fighting Coy Lambert, who's 7-22. So obviously a tune-up fight for him. Oh, jeez, I really wish I would have known about this show sooner, so I would try to get to this. Ryan Di Bartolomeo, who is 2-0-1 at welterweight, is also fighting for a title over with Chris Jacobs, who's also 2-0-1 for the vacant USA New Hampshire state welterweight title. Jeez, I could get a state title if I trained hard enough at this rate. 3 fights and a state title? Jeez, I'll retire on that. Screw MMA. I'll go down to Derry and fight. Well, anyway. Yeah, so those are the worth watching fights anyway. But I don't know what promotion this is. It just says Sports Zone, Derry, New Hampshire. It doesn't tell you who the promoter is. I'll have to find out. It's interesting. And then we have an ESPN card at the Bubble on Saturday. We got somebody's going postal. Jose Carlos Ramirez. He's 25-0, fighting Victor Postal, 31-2. For the WBC World Super Lightweight title and the WBO World Super Lightweight title. And then our boy, former guest of ours, Tony Luis, 29-3, fighting Arnold Barboza Jr., who is 23-0 at Super Lightweight. So very tough fights for these undefeated fighters here. And hopefully our undefeated foe here, or foe of the undefeated here, Tony Luis, pulls one out. He's been training hard for this one. He's very pissed off, though, about people who keep asking him where the fight is going to be on TV. Don't ask him on Facebook. I've noticed that. He's put it out there on one post, and he's like, don't ask me again. Tony Luis. It's one of those things you just don't want to be annoyed with when you're leading up to the fight. And I haven't seen a Jesus fight this week, but we have an Elvis fight of the week. And he's undefeated on ESPN. Elvis Rodriguez at welterweight, 8-0-1, fighting Cody Wilson, who's 9-2. Oh, I would I'd love to put this guy in a movie about bad lawyers. Because he's got a great name for that, but not so much for boxing. This is another somebody's always got to go fight, too. Bantamweights. Gabriel Morotala, that's not the guy I'm talking about. He's 4-0. He's fighting Justice Bland, who is 2-0.
He doesn't sound very exciting.
Yeah, he's a bad lawyer. He's just bland. He gives you bland justice. Anyway. Not much else going on in the worldwide boxing scene. Speeding up, but not too much. There's a little bit of Friday night fights, but nothing. Nobody with a name you might recognize. So we'll just wait until next week to talk about the aftermath of all this stuff. I know we didn't cover every fight. We missed, I'm sure. Probably missed a Bellator card or something. I don't know, somewhere. We don't have another Bellator fight for another couple weeks. And like Tony said, we don't have a big boxing match until November. So it's a good thing we're working on a guest for next week.
You know what? And before we go, I'm going to be honest here. You know, Errol Spence is a great fan. I know Errol Spence wants to get back in that ring. You know, and after that car accident, but I'm going to be my normal, pessimistic self. Okay, a lot of things can change in the fall, you know, especially because we have an election coming up. Things might open up after the election, especially if it goes the way that we don't want it to go. But certain people get their way. Things could open up. This certain mysterious ailment can go away. Who knows, right? But it wouldn't surprise me if Errol Spence, if things still look to be empty arenas and all that, if they say, you know what, he needs more time to recover, or maybe he hurt his hand during training, we're going to push it back to January. That's my pessimistic outlook.
All right. Oh, by the way, before we do leave, also, I just briefly touched on this, but I didn't get the article to load up earlier. There was a boxer, 28-year-old local boxer named Deshaun Smith, shot and killed amid gunfire in the Hill on Saturday. This is Connecticut, I believe, in New Haven, Independent, so the Hill in New Haven. Police Chief Otonio Reyes, Mayor Justin Licker, and Assistant Chief Carl Jacobson provided updates on the fatal shooting. And it was the 14th homicide in the city so far this year. Trained for years at the Hills Ring 1 boxing gym. Neighbors called about a loud crowd on the street. There was a vigil of sorts going on. People were out commemorating the 7-year anniversary of the death of another homicide victim, 18-year-old Devontae Jackson. And the crowd had dispersed by the time the officers arrived. And then at 11:51 p.m., city police received alerts of gunfire and also 911 calls from neighbors. And a dispute over a dice game may have led to the subsequent violence, believe it or not. Found an expansive crime scene that extended well beyond the original location into parts of other surrounding streets. 6 victims got shot. The only one to die was Smith. The other 5 victims were all hospitalized for their wounds. All currently in stable condition, other than him. So, yeah, crazy story. World-class boxer, got nothing on a gun, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's true.
So anyway, as I said, next week we will possibly have an interview with UFC fighter Yan Xiaonan. UFC 253 opponent of Claudia Gadella, and she's undefeated, I believe, so could be interesting, even with a translator. So we'll find out, hopefully, either next week or the week after that. Just get a little bit of time between this one and the next fight. So anyway, until then, adios, my friends.
All right, guys.
Bye. Get well soon, or,
Yeah, get well soon.
Don't get the COVID.
Yeah, don't do that.
All right, now everybody's going to walk out in protest.